Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to revise the concept of national income and related aggregates. First of all, let us know the meaning of national income. National income is the sum total of factor incomes earned by the normal residents of a country. It does not account for transfer income and it also termed as a national product. Here is a differentiation between factor and transfer incomes are given. Factor incomes are the rewards of the factors of a production, means those which are used for producing a good or service. These are land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. Reward for labor is compensation of employees. Reward for land is rent. Reward for capital is interest and reward for entrepreneurship is profit. So factor incomes means these incomes which are earned by the factors of production. It is included in the national income. But transfer incomes, which are also known as unearned income, these are not included in the national income. These include gift in cash, scholarship to the students, old age pensions to the seniors, etc. These are not included in the estimation of national income. The reason being these are transfer incomes, means one-sided payments. Nothing is earned or nothing is get up by having these incomes. Clear? No production is being done corresponding to these income. Next is domestic income. Domestic income is the sum total of factor incomes generated within the domestic territory of the country, no matter it is the income accruing to residents and or non-residents of the country. Means domestic income is to be earned within the domestic territory only. It does not matter here whether it is earned by resident or non-resident of the country. Clear? It is also termed as domestic product. Now we will know the meaning of normal residents of a country. Normal resident is an individual or institution who fulfills two conditions. First is who normally resides in the country concerned for a period of more than 1 year, means any person who normally lives in the country for a period of more than 1 year and whose center of economic interest lies in that country, means he lives or located in that very country and carries out its basic economic activities of earning, spending and accumulation from that very location. If these two conditions are fulfilled by an individual or institution, then he or the institution is supposed to be the normal resident of that particular country. But these two conditions have some exceptions. The following are not included under normal residents. First is foreign visitors and travelers visiting the country for holidays, recreation, medical treatment, study tours, business tours, sports events, attending conferences, etc. Means any foreign visitor or traveler for these purposes visiting a country, he or she will not be treated as the normal resident of that country. Secondly, border workers, means the persons who crosses the border between two countries regularly will be treated the resident of the country in which they live and not of the country where they go for work. Third, officials, diplomats and members of the armed forces of foreign countries, means any officials or diplomats or members of the armed forces of any other foreign country coming to our country, that will not be the normal resident of our country. Fourth, employees of international organizations who are not the citizen of our country in which the office are located. Clear? If any office of an international organization located in our country, then their employees are not the citizen. If they are not the citizen of our country, then they are not deemed to be the normal resident of our country. But they will be treated as normal resident if they work for more than 1 year. But if they are working in that organization for a period of more than 1 year, then they will be treated as the normal residents. Fifth is crew members of foreign vessels, commercial travelers and seasonal workers coming from foreign country for less than a period of 1 year, means the persons who are working on the ships of the foreign country. Medical patients and students remain the residents of their own country irrespective of the time they live abroad. Clear? Any medical patient or a student who has coming here for the purpose of study, they will remain the resident of their own country no matter about whatever the time they have spent. Next is domestic or economic territory. What is meant by domestic or economic territory? Economic or domestic territory is the geographical territory administered by a government within which person, goods and capital circulate freely. Means any area, geographical area whereby the persons, goods and capital of a country can circulate freely and that area is administered by our country's government, then that particular geographical area comes into our domestic territory. It includes political frontier of the country, means the boundaries which is done by the political boundaries. Ships and aircrafts operated by residents between two or more countries. Fishing vessels, means the ships, oil and natural gas rigs etc. operated by residents in the international waters. Embassies, consulates and military establishments of the country located in other countries. This is a very important point. Any embassy of one country located in another country that would deemed to be a part of domestic territory of that very country to which it belongs. Like for example, Indian Embassy in America. It is situated in America but still it is a part of domestic territory of India. Clear? So embassy of any country will be the part of its own domestic territory. Conversion of domestic into national income. How we can convert domestic into national income? We will, if we gonna add net factor income from abroad into domestic income, then we will have our national income. Means domestic income plus net factor income from abroad is equal to national income. How net factor income from abroad is calculated? Factor income earned by our resident from rest of the world minus factor income earned by non-residents in our domestic territory. Means the income which is earned by our factors of production from the foreign country minus the factor income earned by the persons who are not our residents and they are earning that income from our domestic territory. So their difference is known as net factor income from abroad. Three important concepts of national income and related aggregates which will help us to find out the related aggregates. First is depreciation. It is used to convert gross concept into net concept, like GDP minus depreciation becomes an NDP, net domestic product, and NDP plus depreciation becomes gross domestic product. Clear? Second is NFIA. We have just read this, net factor income from abroad, used to convert domestic income into national, like domestic income plus NFIA becomes national income and national income minus NFIA becomes domestic income. Third is net indirect taxes. Net indirect taxes is the difference between indirect tax and subsidies. When we deduct subsidies from the indirect taxes, we'll get net indirect taxes. This is used to convert domestic product at market price into factor cost concept. Like GDP at market price minus NIT becomes GDP at factor cost. And similarly, GDP at factor cost plus NIT becomes GDP at market price. So these are the three concepts: depreciation, NFIA, NIT, which is very important to calculate the related aggregates. Now here are the 8 related aggregates of national income. The first is gross domestic product at market price, GDPMP, which means the market value of final goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country in an accounting year. Next is net domestic product at market price. So when we deduct depreciation from GDP at market price, we'll get our NDP at market price. Third is gross national product at market price. If we're gonna add NFIA into the domestic, then we're gonna get our national. So GDP at market price plus NFIA becomes GNP at market price. Fourth is NNP at market price. It's equal to GNP at market price minus depreciation, because from gross we're gonna deduct depreciation, we'll get our net concept. Fifth is GDP at factor cost. Now all these left 4 concepts are at factor cost. So from the market price concept, if we're gonna deduct NIT, then we'll get our factor cost concept. So GDP at market price minus NIT, it becomes GDP at factor cost. Sixth is NDP at factor cost. It is also known as domestic income or net domestic income. It is calculated by the formula GDP at factor cost minus depreciation. Seventh is gross national product at factor cost. When we add net factor income from the GDPFC, it will be GNP at factor cost. And eighth is net national product at factor cost, or what we call national income, NNPFC. NDPFC is domestic income and NNPFC is the national income. This is what we need to calculate. So how we'll calculate NNP at factor cost? If we deduct depreciation from the gross national product at factor cost, we'll get our net national product at factor cost. Clear? Next is GDP deflator. GDP deflator is the ratio between nominal GDP and real GDP. It shows change in GDP owing to change in the price level. It is also called price index. Means when we are showing the ratio between nominal GDP and real GDP, then it becomes GDP deflator, and it is also called price index. The formula for GDP deflator or price index is GDP deflator is equal to nominal GDP upon real GDP into 100. Means if both are given to us, that nominal and real, we could calculate the GDP deflator. Now what is nominal and real GDP? Nominal GDP, the market value of goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country during an accounting year as estimated using the current year prices. This is the important one here. Means when we are calculating the market value of goods and services based upon the prices of the current year, then it is known as nominal GDP. And when we are measuring the market value of goods and services at the prices of a base year or the constant prices, then it is termed as real GDP. Clear? So conversion of nominal GDP into real GDP can take place by this formula: nominal GDP upon price index. Remember, price index and GDP deflator is one and the same thing. Okay, so nominal GDP divided by price index into 100, it becomes real GDP. Clear? And by this very formula we can also convert the real GDP into nominal GDP. Okay, so nominal GDP means GDP at the current year prices, whereas real GDP means GDP at the base year prices or constant prices. Now the last topic here is GDP and its relationship with the welfare. Out of the nominal and real GDP is considered as an index of welfare of people. Higher the availability of goods and services, higher will be the welfare of people. So increase in real GDP means increase in the level of output of the economy. So yes, GDP is an indicator of welfare. But some limitations of GDP as an index are there, which makes or which shows that how the significance of GDP as an index of welfare is lowered down. The first among these limitations is distribution of income. If the distribution of income is unequal into the economy, then GDP as an index of welfare loses its significance. Means if the people who belonging to the rich section of the society become more rich and poorer become more poorer, then GDP increment is not going to show the welfare. Second is composition of GDPs. Means the composition of the product which are being produced in the economy. If luxuries are produced for the rich section of the society and poor suffer deprivation, then GDP growth becomes meaningless. It means GDP is increasing, no doubt, because goods are producing into the economy, but the goods are produced only for the rich section of the society. Clear? So whether GDP is increasing, but still there is no welfare into the economy. Third is non-monetary exchange or transaction. Means the economic transactions which are not affecting the monetary base or without money, some transactions are taking place. So larger the non-monetary transactions, greater the underestimation of GDP as an index of welfare, because the transactions which are not taking into money terms, they are not estimated in the GDP, and therefore GDP will be underestimated. Fourth and most important is externality. GDP index does not account for externalities. Externalities means good and bad impact of economic activities without the price or penalty. Means any good impact or any bad impact of economic activity without paying any price or without paying any penalty. Clear? The very good example of externality is environmental pollution. It is created through the factories in which we do the production. No doubt from factories production is increasing, but still it is having a negative impact on the environment, that is environmental pollution. So it lowers the significance of GDP as an index of welfare. These externalities also lower down the bad externality